Now let's start streaming again. Let's see if this goes better. Okay. YouTube appears to be significantly less fussy now. Excellent. Well, that's good. That's good. I'm glad. It's always nice to have YouTube along for the ride. It really is. It's always nice. Um, I'm going to pull up a couple of things here um, because I think that they are pertinent to what we're going to be trying to do today. Hope you folks are doing well where you are, just taking a moment to get things a little more sorted here. Got a ton, a absolute ton of work to go through here with you. I just wanted to take a second to show a couple of things that that we'll be working through in the coming days and weeks ahead. But with that said, we know YouTube is live. We know that our stream is now live. So let's you know what? Let's go ahead and get this underway. Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. It's time for the feedback loop. Meetings this morning kind of pinched us a little bit on time because we have so much work to review today. It was a gangbusters weekend with work coming in, so frankly, we just had to take a little extra, had to open up a little bit of extra time for feedback loop today. So joining us today, we've got Abraham, we've got Eve, we've got Bren, we've got Abby, and a couple of others I have responded to offline because they were more questions than submissions. But I am super excited to get this underway. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because we've got a couple of different directions that we need to go to today. First of all, want to point out that we are releasing more and more CSS exercises. The new one involving the original 1980s A-Team with Dirk Benedict, George Papard, Dwight Schultz, and Mr. T, all of which were stars in their own regard in different ways, although I'm always partial to Mr. T. This exercise is going to test your ability to not only stylize, but create hover states and work with text a little more eloquently than the previous two exercises. The prior two exercises were a little more simpler. This one's a little more advanced, and we will continue releasing new CSS exercises. Our goal, be honest, I'd like to get to 40 CSS exercises, 30 minimum, so we could do the month of February, which would I guess February would be 28 days, but I would love to do 28 days of elevating your CSS skills all through the month of February. And that sounds like it's so far away, but it's not really. February, folks, is like 6 weeks away, which is crazy, but hey, that just means that we'll be a month into 2021, and that is a month away from 2020, and I think we can all celebrate that. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's see here. Where should we start today? We've got Bren here, but I will come back to Bren. I know that, let's start here with Abraham. And Abraham, oddly enough, I did not see the second screen the first time around, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at both of these. Abraham, you had some questions about color usage and the fact that most dashboards are not just covered in color, and that's the right attitude to have about color. Bren is working through our color for function exercises, and one of the things that I would point out is here you're using the blue, like you've got see more here, and that makes sense. You got contact priority, and because this slider has to kind of call attention to itself over here in the corner, it's not directly over over this because you've got search here. I don't mind that, you know, contact priority is set to, you know, this is active right now. If I went to active or recent or all, I am curious how this view would change. But right now, it's, you know, you've got it set to contact priority, and if that is the active state, I'm fine with it being blue. Just like I'm fine with it being orange over here. I actually am a little more okay with it being orange here because it aligns with how the selected state here is here as well. But I'm less okay with the search field being a bright blue already. It seems like that is inactive. There's nothing to search yet. Once this is filled, then maybe that could go and turn into an active state. There is a, you know, oh, now you can search. Same thing here. You know, I don't think it should be orange yet. Maybe it's an outline or something. But I think that, you know, if I come back to action and I come back to active, you know, I look at this and I go, well, should this be blue? Much like over here, it's orange and orange. Seems like it should be blue and blue. I digress. The most important thing here is that you're avoiding things like, well, you could color this entire thing in red. I wouldn't want that at all. It would call too much attention to itself. It's too alarming. I do like the, you know, you've got it's an alert, so you're using the alert appropriately. I think throughout, the red and green here appears to be appropriate. So overall, I don't mind the color usage. I just would like it to be a little more consistent up here. And then I don't think that this should be filled in immediately until something has activated the, you know, the ability to search. Because right now, if you hit search, should it do anything? There's nothing in there, right? So that's my 2 cents on that. I would like it to just be consistent. Pull back where if it's not active, if you can't act on it, it shouldn't have a color yet. And then keep your other color usage restrained as you have already. So I like overall where you're going there. Eve is working on her latest version of her latest affinity map. Now, Eve, full disclosure, is working on 3 different projects at the same time. And I like this because I don't believe as designers we ever really get an opportunity to work on one project at a time. Typically speaking, we're having to split our time in a few different ways. And this project, having First Teacher in addition to her other projects, helps her prepare for what life is really like as a professional designer. Now, the one thing that I come back to often is, you know, affinity mapping or affinity diagrams, it is an act of distillation. All right, we get all of our information on the board, and this is one reason I like this more as an online activity than an in-person activity. And this is something I wouldn't have really been able to tell you clearly before now, is that we have the space to have all of our observations held tight in one area. We can duplicate what we need, and then we can break it down into the topics. All right, so we have our topics, and you know, they go in a variety of different ways, but then the themes emerge. And there's 2 big themes here that I think are important for you, Eve. One is donation and volunteering triggers. What motivates somebody to take action? That is your number 1 goal as a designer, regardless what you're doing, what the project is. You are always trying to look for what's going to motivate the person who's interacting with this work. What are those underlying things that I can act on? Okay, finding the triggers that make people do the effective, positive thing. You can also find the triggers and make them do negative things too. I want you to be careful of that. But the fact of the matter is, we're always searching for the triggers, right? I don't want to trigger somebody unless it's to help them. The next piece is the turnoffs. Like what is going to push them away from taking action with me? And if you understand, okay, here are the triggers and here are the things that here's what's going to dampen the effect of this, I think you are a long way toward making big to making huge progress. So themes also were convenience and making a positive impact. They want to do good, they just want it to be really easy, right? And then you understand what the modifiers are of that behavior. So I think your action items provide easy, accessible process for visitors to donate, volunteer, or join. Clearly outline mission, goals, objectives, plan. That just smells like if they get the mission, they're more likely to contribute. Show clearly where contributions are making an impact. So transparency. Make the website easily updatable, and this gets back to making sure that you're understanding that you have both internal stakeholders and external users, and both need to be considered when you're making your recommendations for the site and you're beginning to build out these new solutions. And then ensure meaningful experience through feedback, copy, and micro interactions. One of the big things that we forget about a lot here is like who this is really for. All right, when you do an affinity map, sometimes it's for you and your team, but other times, particularly when you're joining a new team, you don't necessarily know if the other side of the wall is all on the same page with one another. There's always a lot of fiefdoms going on, marketing, support, sales. Like they all could have their own little things that they're wanting to do. When you present to them an overview that says, here's what we've discovered, it's an opportunity to get everybody kind of pointed in the same direction. It's much harder to fight data. Now, that doesn't mean that people won't try to, but it's much harder to sustain a fight against data that's looking you in the face. Okay, so I do think that you've done a good job here. Now it comes down to making them understand that some of what you've discovered is not only for the external customer, that external volunteer or person donating, but it's also for the internal user who's working with the site. Okay, so I think you've done a really good job there. Moving over to Bryn. Bryn, you are on color accessibility, and by and large, I think you did pretty well. I've often gotta throw this out of this color mode. Although we've got something like Color Oracle, and I can throw this into Deuteronomy. Sorry, not Deuteronomy. Deuteranopia. Believe that's how you pronounce it. It's about the lack of the green, and as you can see, when you come through, if you look at these, and I'll get rid of my Figma. Oh, there we go. So let's just look at these broadly. All right. So here, I'll put it in this, and you can see right away, like there's like this clearly isn't it. The yellow is, first of all, it was pink had gone away, and the yellow was still there. So that's clear. But it's these two here that there may be some possibility. And the one thing I'll point out is in the second one, the purple is still pretty rich. So I don't think that's the right solution there. But on the third one, that looks really close. The fourth one too, for that matter. But the fourth one, it's interesting. We'll come back to that in just a second. Let's look at Protanopia. And I think with Protanopia, the background on on the exercise 4, the background's a little darker on that one. So I think that in fact it's the first one. Yeah, it's definitely the first one here. So that we've got that one off. The whole point of this exercise for anybody who's following along is to give you an opportunity to see what somebody else sees when they look at these projects, they look at these websites, and they suffer from, or they have this condition. So trithanopia, you can see pretty clearly trithanopia exercise 1 is the option that aligns with that. And then when we come down and we go to protanopia, it's exercise 2. And exercise 2 is interesting because you can look at that background and you can tell by the richness of the background. There was a richness in this first option, deuteranopia. There's a richness between the left and right side in the purple of the background. That is the dead giveaway. And sometimes you have to zoom out. But also exercise 4, it's now even. If we go with the protanopia, you'll see there's just a little more blue in the background of exercise 4 now than there was before. So I really do believe that that like this one, deuteranopia, that's not going to work. It's protanopia here, and here it's deuteranopia. Or I'm sorry, here I believe it's deuteranopia, not protanopia. Yeah, protanopia is incorrect here. Protanopia is correct here, and it's the opposite. These two, if you just switch alignments, and then comes this question of, well, what about exercise 3? Is it deuteranopia or protanopia? And it's really, this one is really a toss-up because they both affect the yellow to a degree, so it's really hard to tell. But what's most important is that you understand now that these deficiencies, if you add them all up, deuteranopia, that's 5% of all males. Protanopia is about 2.5%. So roughly, when you add it all together, about 8% of the male population has some sort of color vision deficiency. Something to think about as you're designing solutions, because when you get right to it, there's a lot of richness that goes away, and if these are your colors that you're using to trigger, to call attention to, then that's going to be a problem. If we move along here to part 2, part 2 is less than ideal here, Bren. First of all, when we're looking at this, and I'm going to go ahead and just pull in Stark to, I'm going to pull in our Stark. Hello. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got to duplicate this because I don't have access to it. So now I can call in the oh yeah. Now I've got to open my version of it. But once I have access to it, I can come through and begin to call on contrast checkers and whatnot. So now I can pull in my plugins, go to Stark, go to color contrast, and it's saying that is good enough. I'm not crazy about that. I think it could. I think we could do much better than what the contrast checker is telling us. And it's borderline. I cannot believe that is reporting as enough contrast. 746. That is amazing. And what do we have here? 714. Yeah, for me, honestly, this is a clear, to make this like, whoa, hey, I can see that now. You know, my whole point is, as designers, we get real cute with the grays on top of black, and I really want to emphasize that you should be really going for maximum contrast. You shouldn't try to just like scoot by, and in many ways, when we look at this on Stark, check contrast, like it's clear, like 21 over 1 is the ratio. 7 over 1 is getting by. When you look at this option, 746, I mean, it's just like, it's just eking over the top, right? So I want to be more, I always want to be more in this camp than this camp, which brings me back to this. Is this okay contrast? Well, you bet. I guarantee if I come through here and I say, hey, Stark, tell me what I got, and that's interesting. It's failing, but I think it is failing because it doesn't see, I just don't think it's seeing the background as it stands right now. Let's check that again. Yeah, so it's struggling, like 452. You can see it makes it most of the way, but it's struggling. What I'm really interested here is I understand you could change the background, but let's just unless you're going to go through and reshoot this and pull the cats out, what else could you do? What else could you do to inject contrast into that space? That's what we need to see. And again, follow my lead down here. I'm not going to try to scoot by. I want maximum contrast. Okay? So I would like to see how you would get maximum contrast out of this part 2 without just throwing a box behind it, because again, I want good contrast and I still want the design to work. And this design doesn't work. That doesn't work. That's not a good design. So let's go to exercise 3. And here there's a lot to like. First of all, I like the fact that you took the potato burrito meal. Yeah, you grayed it out, but you also said, hey, you can't order this. There's an icon. Everybody knows the circle with the slash. That's a no. Okay? So you're using iconography to say, nope, not available. Okay? Now, you could have easily come through here and just like put a bar over it and said not available. That would also work. But you've done something. And remember, the key here for accessibility is I'm not going to rely just on color. I'm not going to rely just on words. I'm going to try to use a combination of things together to get the point across. I think the pizza tracker here is a good example. If I can't see the grays, and let's try to get the Stark plugin contrast checker. No, it's Vision Simulator. So Vision Simulator, let's see here, generate Protonopia. Interest. Oh, okay. I don't have my upgrade key in here. That explains it. Okay. So I can't do it with that, but I can, in fact, do it with this. So I'll come back to Color Oracle, Deuteranopia. Like, greens just go right away. Like, I can't really tell. Now, luckily, these are darker than those, but I'm going to have to really be paying attention, which is why the insertion of the underline makes sense. Like, okay, if I can't tell right away, this is the one that has something different. It's still pretty subtle between you and me, but it's better. That's the same idea here. Like something subtly different. I wish the circle was just a little bolder all the way around. But that's okay. And then this one, preparing, quality check in progress. This type is too small. If I was going to, if I was going to come through and do this, I'd probably just like center it up on here and go 10, and you might go, well, what happens if it's longer? Well, you can go all the way down to here, and you can go down to here if you need to, because as this goes through, the problem you get into is down here. Like, you really can't go very wide. Here you can go plenty wide. Here, getting started. You could do enough. Making, getting started, baking. In the oven. In the oven. You get the idea. So I think overall this is pretty good. Let's take a look at your color for navigation exercises. I will say that, like, overall you got, you picked out the action, the dominant color or the action color. Dominant here is clearly the blue, although the action color here is a little different. It's this darker blue that you did not pick up on. And then you've got triadic down here as a color scheme, and you definitely can see, like, there's greens, there's reds. Here the reds are a little more few and far between, but the greens are definitely there. The light blues are there. So I could get down with triadic. Here, this is very monochromatic. It's muted. I could almost, I'm gonna go with monochromatic. And that's the thing. Nobody sets out and says, "Oh, I'm gonna have a monochromatic type style." I am curious about where your color palette, like this color palette, is pretty clear where it's coming from. I'm not sure where this color palette is coming from. Maybe the images. This brand new is a troubled site. It's using color more as subject matter themes, like the green, the light blue, the yellow. There's not a real. I do think it's triadic more so than just other. I do think that it has some rhyme and reason, at least in tone. It's correct. This is very much for me monochromatic. There is this bit of dark, but it's really more of a black that's being used. Except for right there. But again, I look at this more as monochromatic because I'm looking at all the greens, and then black is allowed there. And here, I don't see this as being complementary, because complementary is like blue and then yellow, or red and then green, and not all of it together. I really do think that. But the good news here is, like, the dominant color. What is that? Well, browse photos, or start browsing, or notify me. Like this dominant color is the blue. That's the one that's being used for action. And that's really what I want you to always be thinking about. It's okay, what am I using for action, and am I using that color consistently as I go through this? So for exercise 2, you'd mentioned, like, there were some questions about accessibility and whatnot. And this again is where, when I come through and I look at Stark, and I go, okay, well Stark, help me out here. Is this accessible or not? And of course, I need to go full screen so I can get back to my plugin. And we're in the 11s here. Okay, that's fine. We're not scooting by. Same thing here. And as you come over, now you're, this works as well. Working less well was this, but not so much from an accessibility standpoint, but from an activity standpoint. So if we look at this, and we look at this overall, and I say, okay, well, this is the page that I'm on inside of the app, right? And the name of that page is probably Explorer. So I can get by. I can understand why Explorer might be green. This is color used for organization. That makes sense. This bell. the bell means I have notifications, I guess. If it's green like this, I'm guessing that I have notifications waiting. Is that the intention? Or did you just color it? I don't know. That's a question. Same thing for the $100 here. Is that like what is that indicating for me? Is that indicating that I just got a deposit of $100? Is that indicating that I have $100 to use and I'm actively using it? I don't know why those two items are the same color as the active button. And there's the key, okay? Like this is a particular shade of green. This is a different shade of green. This is a different shade of purple. Because this is the same color, I'm assuming that it's active somehow. And that's what I'm always looking for when I'm talking about color and products. Is like, and this is what I was talking about earlier with Abraham. When you have a color and you're using it, if you're using it consistently, it carries meaning with it. And if I mean that this teal green means active, then these are active. But the question is, are they? And then I see them carried over here the same way. That ultimately is my question. Are these actually active or not? If they're not, then I need to come through and I need to do something different with it. Maybe it's just white. Maybe that's it. Maybe these don't have any need to be active at all. Maybe they're just like that. Could be. I don't know. Because the way they came over, they are like that. So being more declarative with what your action active colors are is going to be helpful in determining what's actually happening inside the interface. Aside from this area up here, completely on board with the rest of it. Works well. Let's go over to Abby. And Abby has a number of user flows. So Abby is working through her current Fresh Market project. And if we get in here, I see checkout order, I see view recommendations. I think there were more here. Oh yeah, there's more. Lots more. So view current orders, update location preferences, search for meal and quick add cart, customize meal, edit out allergies, view cart, delete meal, checkout order, view recommendations, and then search by filters. Okay, so here I see, and I'd written down this. So search by filters, locate meals in navbar, select meals, view meals page with offerings, locate filters, so I can view diet, protein, price, flavor profile, whatever. I can select save. What does selecting save do? Does that mean that I'm saving those as my preset filters? I'm trying to think through what that means and how does that present itself each time I come into the site. I like everything up to save. Save was the confusing part. Add filters to profile. I don't know. Recommendations. I did like the fact that you have recommendations you have several different ways to drill down. Login, view homepage, scroll to recommendations, view meal options that you think you'll like. Homepage, locate meals in navbar, select meals, view meals page of offerings, scroll through page to meal options, locate desired meal, select meal, view meals individual page, scroll to nutrition and ingredients, allergies, recommendations, locate recommendations of similar meals. This is much like we're on the individual product page and there's like other products like this one. There's like a row of images there. Totally get that. Login, view home page, locate nav, select meals, view meals, meal page with offerings, view or locate recommendations. So now it's interesting because now there's like I'm I've gotten this view of recommendations exist on the home page, recommendations exist on the meals page, recommendations exist on the individual meal page, recommendations exist pretty much everywhere. So big thing for you is nailing down what recommendations are going to be like, because you're using it in a lot of places. Okay, when you're going through and wireframing and spending time doing information architecture, you're going to want to nail that one, because you're going to use that shape over and over and over again. Check out order, log in, view home page, locate cart, select cart, view cart overview, locate order button, select order, view confirmation pop up, confirm, locate confirm order button, select confirm, view order, order page details. Had some notes here. That one was fine. I do think that you're going to probably have, like, one of the questions here is, have you entered in, like, the, you know, are you using the same card that you used last time? Are you having it delivered to the same place, or do you need to change where it's being delivered to? All the ingredients going to be, are all the ingredients available for the meals that you've ordered for the day that it's supposed to be delivered? Or is there going to be a delay because, there's no bacon or whatever? Like, there's a lot of unhappy paths that could exist really in this area, and I don't see anything off the side of this flow. So this flow is very happy path, and I need to see what are the less happy paths. Okay. When we, there was one. Yeah, here it is. So here you're searching for a meal and you're adding it to cart. Here you have an unhappy path, like, oh, I searched and I didn't get anything. And then what happens when I get that error message? Do I go back to search? Do I go elsewhere? Like, how do I get out of this? Like, I know it goes down and I'm here. What can I do after that? Where do I loop back to? Location preferences. This was interesting. You've got the icon, the view profile, and all this. I was curious about, like, when I type in my location zip code, I get suggested locations. I don't know what that. What would that be? What would it be suggesting back? So I'm not really sure what to make of that part of it. Like, up to the location preferences, I get it, but then, like, you hit edit. Would I ever need to add a location? Like, I know I've got, like, here's my home. What if I'm having it delivered somewhere else? Or what if I'm having it delivered to work? What if I change? Like, changing homes, that makes sense. But why in edit location would I hit zip code and get some suggestions? I don't understand that part. So what I want to emphasize here is there's a lot to like here. There are a few confusing parts. There's a few that are just simply too streamlined. Okay, this needs some more detail in a couple of specific spots. But I think overall, this is definitely on the right track. You're hitting into you're getting into the right areas. But go back to your affinity map and go back to your your affinity map. Ask yourself, am I answering the questions that affinity map is challenging me with? And if I am, great. If you're not, now is the time to make those adjustments, okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for today's edition of the Feedback Loop. Thank you so much to Abraham, Eve, Bryn, and Abby for submitting work today. It's going to be a weird week, but I'm here all week. You're going to be here all week. Might as well submit some work for review. And if you're getting value out of these videos, feel free to smash that subscribe button so you can get updated anytime that we go live or post new videos, and there will be a tidal wave of new videos dropping shortly. So without further ado, I bid you adieu. I'm Chris Courtney. This has been the Feedback Loop, and I will see you all tomorrow. Take care.